Ready? Play.
Hey, we are ready to go for another ATP Finals match. Today it's Andrey Rublev against Novak Djokovic. I'm joined by Vivek, who's doing his first live talking tennis show. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well. It's bright and early here in Toronto. We've got some snowfall. So happy that I'm in and watching some tennis.
God, yeah, it must be really early. It's like
yeah, 8 a.m.
Jeez. Yeah, it's 1 p.m. here, so I've just rolled out of bed as well. So of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you expecting from this match then?
Well, I find this really interesting from a Rublev perspective because on the one hand, there's probably no better prep for a Djokovic match than playing Medvedev beforehand.
Yeah.
Coming in. And so I think he has that sort of advantage. But on the other hand, to come through such a tough match that comes down to a third set tiebreak, the emotions, I mean, that was a really tough match. I'm wondering if there'll be a bit of a letdown in this one. So I think there's both sides of it, and I guess we're about to find out which one kind of comes out on top.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Medvedev's still kind of searching for his top form. I thought he played all right against Rublev, but yeah, the double faults kind of hurt him again. And he's not going to get as many free points from Djokovic because Djokovic is just a bit more solid than Medvedev at the minute. But Rublev's attack was amazing. Like his forehand was absolutely firing the other day. I wonder if Djokovic is going to make him pay on the backhand, though, because Rublev doesn't really like to attack with his backhand. He can rally with it, but he doesn't really attack with it as much as, other players do. And I feel like that might cause him problems.
I think the one thing that was interesting in that Rublev-Medvedev match was, I think as the match progressed, it was sort of him understanding that, okay, I'm not going to be able to just rally with my backhand. And you did see those occasions where he did go for that down the line backhand and really just go for it. I think that's definitely something he's going to need against Novak to stand a chance. Like, because as you mentioned, Novak is just quite a bit more solid right now than Medvedev.
Yeah.
And so I think, and, we've seen in the past as well with Novak, the way that, you kind of do have to hit through him at times and just bully him a bit.
Yeah, no, definitely.
If you want to have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, like we saw 2019 and 2020 ATP Finals team just bullying Djokovic, which is not something that happens on these courts.
Nope.
It's kind of the only formula really that we've seen for a while to beat Djokovic is either be Dominic Thiem,
the Stan Wawrinka blueprint.
be Thiem or Wawrinka, or you have to be Medvedev, and you're kind of, acing and then out rallying him. It's not easy.
No. So, I think that part of it is really interesting. From Novak's perspective, what have you made of him post Wimbledon?
Yeah, good. I'm trying to think who he lost. Who he's lost? Yeah, he lost to Bruno in Paris.
Yeah,
and I think Bruno was obviously amazing. That whole week, and he was on a real, kind of momentum, hype train. But Djokovic had the break in the third set and kind of just missed routine shots, which he wouldn't usually. And I think just a bit of fatigue, and I think he just got tight as well. He shouldn't really have lost that match. So I'm interested to see where he is this week. But I think play-wise, I think he's playing really, really well. Looks solid as ever. And I was thinking about this last night. Obviously, we've got the news now that he's going to play the Australian Open next year. Looks like, we're going to finally avoid all the absolute mess and unnecessary drama, which is great. I'm just glad that it's getting resolved and he's going to play because no one needs that again.
We can talk about tennis.
Exactly, yeah. And I was thinking yesterday, if he was playing yesterday, maybe he would have been a bit distracted. you know, because there would have been a lot of like emotions to, you know, come back from this earlier this year and think towards next year. And I think now he's probably had a day to like let that all settle in. I think he's going to be even more motivated now because he's going to be like, yes, I'm playing Australia.
Do you think either Rublev or Medvedev can topple him in the remaining group matches?
I'd say Medvedev playing really well, sure. Like Astana, I thought Medvedev, you know, he had that match, and you know, and then, you know, missed some really easy shots in the tiebreak, and then turned out he'd also picked up an injury in that tiebreak and retired straight after. But you know, Medvedev was out playing Djokovic that day.
Yep. And
he came into that match not really playing particularly well either. So we could see the same again. I think Medvedev's the most likely to beat Djokovic. Yeah, it's been interesting this whole thing because obviously like Green Group have like, and yeah, Greens with, you know, Ruud, Alcaraz, Nadal, and Fritz. And I was doing a podcast the other, you know, towards the end of last week, and we were predicting who gets out of each group. And I said Felix, and I said Ruud because I was like, I think Ruud's going to surprise everyone again because he just loves to do that. And everyone's been like, no, Ruud's the eighth player in the whole draw to do any kind of damage, and he's, you know, the first to get through his group, which is insane. I do think obviously Ruud would have, you know, struggled a lot against Djokovic, Medvedev, and I think he could have beaten Rublev for sure. But yeah, Djokovic, Medvedev especially, and maybe Tsitsipas. But yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I would say Djokovic has his best chance. He's better chance of beating Rublev than Medvedev, I think.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair shout. I think Medvedev. Well, I guess the interesting thing is going to be, with this being such a key day, is, you know, does Medvedev have something to play for come that final match? So
yes.
So
yeah,
I think that's probably the X factor.
Yeah, I think I'm doing this show for the Medvedev-Tsitsipas match later as well, so that's gonna be really fun.
Yeah.
Although they've you know, they've got a bit of a mutual respect for each other now, so there's not really any aggro, which is a bit of a shame because everyone loved that in their rivalry.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts.
Something you'll give.
Always feels like a matter of time with for either of those ones to.
Yeah, they're both quite. They're both quite fiery players.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. Are you 15 love, or should I?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm 15
cool.
love. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we're often out of sync with each other in these things, but that's good. It's a good start. But yeah, I mean, Djokovic, like this thing. I mean, Tsitsipas couldn't really touch Djokovic when Djokovic was serving the other day. And a lot of people kind of saying, "Oh yeah, that's because Tsitsipas is a terrible returner." But I've seen a lot of evidence this year of Tsitsipas really improving his return. I think Djokovic is just an amazing spot server, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's been the big thing with Novak over the last several years, right? The way he's elevated his serve. I mean, it makes it's made him that much more daunting because, you know, eventually he is going to find a way to break your serve. and so before it was, you know, I feel like when he was first on the tour and just emerging, there was always that feeling like, yeah, he's got a great return, but you can crack him on his serve too. And it can kind of go back and forth that way. And then once he upgraded that serve, you know, that's how you become a 21-time Grand Slam champion.
And like during that kind of 2007 2010 period, he had a pretty big serve. Like he served a lot quicker.
Yeah,
but the placement wasn't very good, and he was a lot of frailty there as well, like with his action. And then he changed everything in 2011, and yeah, now he's just. It must be so frustrating playing someone who not only isn't that's two aces down the tee in the first game.
What's your prediction for this match?
I feel like a scoreline of something like 6-4, 6-4, or 6-3, 6-4, or something like that to Djokovic.
Yeah, that sounds about right for me.
Yeah, and like I feel bad doubting Rublev again because he did amazingly the other day, but it's another step up, really. I think
It is, and again, I think getting that win over Medvedev, I think it puts him in a position to sort of be all in for that match against Tsitsipas.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe this one isn't. If I'm sure he's going to come out and see what happens. But if Novak's just on another level, I think he'll know that he has that one in the back pocket.
Yeah, that was a good start from Rublev on serve. It seems like down the tees are very first serve is a very popular one to go for on indoor courts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean Rublev's got a good serve, and like he loves a +1.
Yeah,
he dug that backhand out really well there.
Yeah, I mean that serve +1 is so important on the fast indoor courts. It just changes everything when you're able to do that consistently.
Yeah, I mean that's what we saw with your fellow countryman Felix.
Yeah,
earlier in the indoor season, he was a master of that, and it's good to see he's kind of settled in a bit now. Jeez.
Yeah,
that was a huge return from Djokovic, but okay. Bit of a cagey start in the rallies from both of them, but
yeah.
So 40 love. First serve misses.
Interesting. I thought that was a double.
Yeah, that was a bit slow on first serve, actually. I mean, that must have just caught the back of the line.
Yeah, it had to.
That was inches.
Yeah.
Not even that, millimeters.
Not worth a challenge at 40 love, though.
No, players will still do it, though. People that play like tennis players are so unbelievably stubborn. They're just like, if I get this challenge right, I can win the next 5 points.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how aggressive Rublev is. Again, just like factoring in a bit of fatigue from the Medvedev match. And just maybe goes for it a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think aggression is kind of all he really knows. And he's just going to have to step up another notch, really. If you watch Thiem, against Djokovic at the ATP finals, 2019, 2020, he just constantly attacking, and he didn't miss. Like he went like 5-1 down. And he went 4-1 down in the final set tiebreak in 2019, and came back and won like 7-4. And then he was 5-1 down in the 2021 and won 7-5 or something like that. It was just like complete and utter annihilation of the forehand and the backhand, And when Djokovic is, steady as a rock, that's all you can really do sometimes, unless you are Medvedev and you can, create the voodoo magic that Medvedev can at his best.
Yeah,
That's just insane serving. Like,
yeah, blink and you miss it.
Yeah, and like he's catching at the back of the line and like in the corners, and yeah, it's just mad.
Yeah.
I'm going to need like Federer or Djokovic to coach Diego Schwartzman how to serve. Because like, obviously, he's never going to get any real pace on his serve. He can serve. I've seen, we've watched him for years. He should serve all right. His serve has dipped.
Yeah.
But if he had like good placement, if Goffin and Evans aren't particularly tall and they've got really good placement on their serve.
No, that's exactly it, right? Like I think when you don't have the size, placement becomes that much more critical.
Exactly, and his or something, you just sit up in the box and like, come on, or just hire Ash Barty. That'll be a
yeah,
be a good combo.
while we're on the subject, do you think Ash Barty makes a comeback at some point?
I personally don't think so. It did sound to me like she was really done with it. Yeah, I would. I mean, I would love to see her back. Especially, it's just it is a real shame that she went when she did, because then we got Iga just dominating the entire year, and having a rivalry with those two would have been really fun. But I personally don't see it. I know there's already clickbait headlines going around being like Ash Barty will return to the Australian Open next year, and also she'll be there, but she's not going to be playing. So yeah,
gotta get those clicks.
Yeah, what do you reckon? Do you reckon she'll make a comeback?
I think she needs to miss it a bit more. So I could see it maybe lingering for a bit. Maybe, watching another Wimbledon and feeling like, oh, I wish I was there.
Yeah.
I think that might do it. But yeah, I mean, good for her that she's able to, put herself first and, not get caught up in, the records and what, she could potentially be, in the pantheon and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and like all the what ifs, like
exactly.
I mean, she's still in like what 26 now. I don't know if she was 25 earlier this year. I don't know if she's turned 26 now, but
right. I mean, that's the other thing too, right? She's got a bit of time.
Yeah. Heck, I mean, like the big three, and not even like the big three. Obviously Federer's playing when he's like 40.
Yeah.
You got Rafa playing at 36. You got Novak playing at 35. Murray 35. You got Fernando Verdasco who's still playing at 39. Still qualifying for Grand Slams. The guy's an absolute legend. So there is like a lot of hope for all these players, men and women, who kind of think, oh, can I still play good tennis in my 30s? Like, yeah, of course you can.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's just,
the serve bot match continues.
Yeah, and there's not, I don't think, have we had a rally beyond 4 shots yet?
No.
It's another race. God.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Something about age.
But yeah, players playing well into their 30s. I think, obviously the sports science today, players understanding how to take care of their bodies. Obviously the big thing is just managing your matches, managing your tournaments, managing social media and all that comes with it.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I think, though, like the Europeans and that, I think have really benefited from, like they can kind of visit home all the time, or people who live in like Monte Carlo, they will live in Monte Carlo, don't they, for the nice houses and the tax breaks and the and the clay courts. But the South Americans and the Aussies, they, and I'm sure the New Zealanders, if we had any singles players on tour, they can't really kind of just pop home in between tournaments and just like chill.
This serving is just
it's ridiculous. He says he's made 72%. I feel like he's made more like 90.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
I feel like we're watching Isna Karlovic right now.
Yeah. We might as well be.
Jesus.
All right.
As
question over here.
Oh yeah. Do you think players use challenges? Yes, I think the most tactical times are during tie breaks. Personally, it's when they know the ball's well out, but they just want a bit of time.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Yeah, you get those long, 30-shot rallies, and then the ball's clearly gone out. It's like, I'm gonna need a bit of time here.
It was like Runa the other day. Well, he didn't challenge, but he it was during that final with Djokovic, and they had like a mad rally, and he just deliberately waited until he got the time warning because he was just so out of breath. I was like, yeah, don't blame him.
Yeah. No, you've got to be smart about it for sure.
I That's a cool picture.
It is.
Is that a painting?
That's a really impressive painting if it is.
They must have done that really quick though. I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably a graphic design.
Yeah,
They
had
toned it up a bit.
I do love when every when it's always the French Open final, and the camera at some point in the day always goes to that person who's doing like a massive / painting. I always like to see that.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what this is supposed to mean. Oh, you want to like switch sides. Okay. Good backhand.
Yeah.
That's
the one. That's the down the line one that he's going to need.
But about 4, 5, maybe 5 shots there. That was massive.
Yeah, we got a rally.
God, finally.
All right. Starting to get a bit of back and forth.
Here we go. If it was going to happen on anyone's serve, it would be Rublev's. And he goes long with the backhand. Not an exchange you want to get into. Backhand, cross-court backhand,
No.
cross-court backhand with Djokovic. The only people who can do that, I would say, in the current game, two-handed at least, are Medvedev, Zverev, Diego on clay, like Murray in his prime, but we're talking nowadays. Like, it's just there aren't many people who can go toe to toe, backhand to backhand.
No.
Like, you need an unreal two-hander. But Rublev's gonna need to just channel, John Isner and just serve bot his way out just try and find some returns. I'll be honest, it's a really boring match so far.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, really good match in Belgrade. The one that Rublev won when Djokovic was kind of
Okay.
We're
starting to get a bit more of the rallies going now.
Yeah, God, it's a good forehand from Djokovic. Yeah. Interesting attacking into the forehand wing from Djokovic there. Bringing the error.
With the way Alcaraz and the rest of the young guys have come on, do you think it gets Novak to be a bit more proactive in his aggressiveness and, knowing that, especially someone like Alcaraz is just going to come right at him?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think obviously a lot of it depends on the court that he's on. Well done, Rublev. Done well there.
That was a great forehand.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see if he gets a meeting with Alcaraz or Rune or Sinner at the Australian Open. We'll see Alcaraz beat him in Madrid. Rune beat him in Paris. Sinner took the first 2 sets off him at Wimbledon.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all players who I can see playing really well in Australia.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Like, Djokovic has these days where he goes super aggressive, and it's like, oh my God, like, what do you do against this? Because he's an underrated attacker because he doesn't really do it much because he doesn't have to.
Right.
But when he feels like he has to, it's like, I mean, how do you beat this guy? Because you can't hit through him, and now he's hitting through you as well. It's
that's kind of the guy I want to see in 2023.
Yeah, I love watching him.
I think he's gonna need it more.
Yeah, and I think he needs to be smart about it as well, because I know that a lot of people have kind of made a lot of the fact that he's missed a lot of tennis this year for the obviously all the vaccine stuff, and so he's like going to be really rejuvenated, and he's going to have more energy. But he is 35 as well, and yeah, he's missed like 6 or 7 tournaments that he would have normally played this year, and that would have taken more of a toll. But he's also going to have to be smart about his schedule. Oh, great shot from Rublev, blimey.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's going to have to be smart about his schedule and the way he plays. And I think not that it's the same, because I know Murray obviously has the metal hips, sorry. But Murray's still unbelievably passive and defensive in his matches, and it's not getting him anywhere really. And Djokovic is going to have to look at that. Oof, just missed.
He had it.
Had the line. I worry about his technique on the backhand sometimes a bit, Rublev as well. Doesn't seem to hit through the ball enough. But yeah,
I find he's a bit too vertical.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not enough of like a full body, rotation going through it. But yeah, so I would like to Djokovic kind of step up his aggression, and that might be more tiring, but like you don't want to. And I think Alcaraz is going to have to quite quickly not fall into a trap where he's only ever, he's winning a lot of points by chasing down all these impossible balls that he loves to do. Yeah, like I mean, we haven't seen the best of Alcaraz at all yet. I think he's still got a long way to go before we see him at his peak powers.
Oh, for sure. He's so young.
Yeah. And like he's still making loads of errors. He's still missing loads of returns. So
yeah, I mean, he's still quite raw.
Oh yeah.
And he's the number 1 player in the world.
It's insane. Yeah. And yeah, officially the year-end number 1 is probably the youngest ever, I think. So
yeah. Well,
madness.
All right. Still on serve.
Djokovic, I mean, has he even been taken beyond 40-15 yet? I don't think he has.
No. Is this the game Djokovic breaks? I feel like that last game he was starting to find his bearings.
Yeah, I think
that last return game, I should say.
Yeah, it's going to hinge on if Rublev can find a big serve, because if he goes love 15 down at this point in the set, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That first point is always so important. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting Australian Open with year number 1 2023. Oof. I actually can see Djokovic being.
I think it's going to be Novak.
Yeah, I think it'll be Novak. I would love to make a bold call and say someone completely unexpected and get it right, but
I actually think one of maybe the underrated storylines heading into the start of next year is the fact that next year is probably the last year in quite some time that we'll see someone on the men's side enter the year with a realistic shot of a calendar slam. Like obviously the last several years, Novak's been the guy to try and do it. And I think that next year's probably his last somewhat realistic shot at it.
Yeah. Hold on.
Oh, that was an incredible backhand slice cross court by Rublev.
Sorry about that.
You just missed a wicked backhand slice cross court with Novak at the net from Rublev.
Showing the replay now. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's delightful.
And again, to your point, that's the difference between, going down love 15.
Mm.
and feeling a bit of pressure.
Yeah, and then he finds a big serve.
Yeah.
Novak misses a return. Yeah, he's done very well there, Rublev. I do agree. I'm not sure if I see Djokovic winning the Canada Slam next year.
I don't. I just think that, entering the year, like after next year, I don't think it's even a conversation for a while, right? I
Totally.
think
We haven't got, I mean, for me, Djokovic is the most complete tennis player of all time. And we haven't got anyone who's nearly complete enough across all surfaces to put their hand up, to be a Canada Slam contender. Statistically speaking, slam-wise, I think Berrettini is the most complete all-surface player.
Based on results, you would have to say so.
Yeah, and I really like Berrettini. He's fantastic, and I think as soon as Djokovic finally retires, I think Berrettini can finally win Wimbledon. But because to me, he's comfortably the second best grass court player out there.
I know. Obviously that was a big shock when Felix lost in the first round. I think his game is so well suited to grass. And the year before, he had lost that match against Berrettini.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to Felix, he had that horrible first round with Cressy, and I just knew it was going to be bad news as soon as that draw came out.
But would you say that currently Felix's game is maybe, across the four surfaces among the young guys, the most well-rounded?
Yeah, I would say. And it's interesting with Felix as well, because when he first kind of, he was like 15 when he first kind of started making waves and making headlines on the challenger circuit. And he's been around a while, but I remember he was really good on clay when he was really young.
Yep.
Oh, Novak's pushed the forehand wide there. At this point with that. And I thought Felix was going to be like a really good clay court player. And like, I really liked what I saw. And then the older he's got and the bigger he's got, and the more he's matured and developed, I think he's developed a really good game for the fast courts. And then, we saw him against Rafa at Roland Garros this year. And, that's a good hold from Rublev. From 40 love up. He nearly put himself in a bad spot there. The way Felix played against Rafa in Paris this year was amazing. And there was a lot to be excited about.
That was his toughest match. That was Rafa's toughest match.
Definitely.
Last year. This year.
and I think a lot of Zverev fans get very over the top and excited about that god awful semi-final that would only really have ended in injury anyway with those conditions. And if Nadal takes that second set, like, no one is saying that Zverev had Nadal on the ropes in that match. They went to a second tie break. Felix was easily the biggest test of Rafa this year. 2 match points against Medvedev in Australia. Felix played amazingly in that match, and he didn't even choke. Like, I know Auger-Aliassime's had his mental toughness moments where he's kind of faded a bit. Oh, that's a good forehand from Rublev.
Yeah.
But he really didn't choke. I don't think. Medvedev just served amazingly when he absolutely had to, and Felix was agonizingly close. So I would probably agree. I think Sinner's pretty exceptional on all surfaces as well. I'd say him and Felix are quite close to each other in that regard. And I wouldn't have said this a year ago. I would have been, before Wimbledon this year, I don't think Sinner would ever won a professional match on grass. and then he beats Then he beats Isner in straight sets, breaking every single set bar one.
2
beats
sets
Alcaraz.
up on Novak.
Beats Alcaraz in 4, 2 sets to love up on Djokovic. It's like, okay, well, Sinner's a good grass court player. That's obvious now. I would say Felix and then Felix and then Sinner right behind him.
Rublev showing a bit of frustration there.
He's been a bit more calm this week, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, he tried to eat the tennis ball, but that's pretty normal for him. But he's not been doing the kind of, hurting himself, which is good because that's never nice to see. Oh, it's a great serve. Gosh. Must be so annoying, and there must be so much pressure.
4% of serves unreturned for Novak.
That's insane. Yeah, that stat's just come up on mine. And Rublev down at 48%, which is still not bad against Djokovic at all.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. And another race. Gosh.
All right, this is the one. I think this is the one he breaks.
Yeah. Well, unless Rublev finds another magical winner on to go
backhand slice cross court.
This time it's going to be a forehand lob. Yeah, I would definitely pick Felix as the best on all surfaces from that younger generation. Obviously, he's the generation below Medvedev, Tsitsipas, Zverev. I know Medvedev is so far ahead on hard than he is to other courts, but he's still really decent on grass and clay. And I can see him having big success. He'll never win the French Open. No way. There's too many good players on clay.
Yeah.
Who will always be better than him. But grass as a surface, I can see him doing well on. Zverev, I'm very surprised that he's come out as quite a good clay court player because I always thought it'd be hard on grass that he'd do well on. But his highest level at a slam has probably been the French Open this year. So
yeah, that's a fair comment.
I don't know with him. And obviously Madrid, I don't really like to count Madrid. And then he's won it twice. I don't really like to count it as a clay court tournament because the ball just zips off the court and it's really high. And obviously it bounces high, but it's also so fast and it plays way more like a hard court.
No, it's true.
So yeah, I don't know, but with what I would say his best one is. I think I'm slightly behind you. But
yeah. I'll let you catch up.
Yeah. Oh. Just pushed it wide. That is not an ideal start to the game.
Oh.
They called him.
Yeah.
You can spoil it for me. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Oh, okay. Yeah. I caught half the line there. Yeah.
It's actually worked out for Novak that they're replaying the point.
Yeah, that's a big grievance to Rublev, really, because I'm an easy put away smash there.
Yeah.
That serve was barely above the net.
There you go. All worked out in the end.
Nice. Okay, cool. And that first point is so big. But yeah, and then Tsitsipas, obviously the best clay court player from his trio with Medvedev and Zverev. Does wild forehand.
Since we are talking about the clay, I don't think we can leave out. What do you think 2023 looks like for Rafa?
I don't know. It's tough because he really doesn't look good right now. He looks really frail. He looks rusty. I don't think he's hurt, which is good. I think he's just rusty and hasn't had much match practice. But I just think time's not on his side at all. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some wins in Australia, gets some wins in, plays Indian Wells in Miami, gets some wins there, and then wins maybe one clay court tournament. I can still see him winning French Open, sure. He is so hard to beat there. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to preserve his body as much as possible for Roland Garros, so that he's in, peak condition. Wow, great serve, just caught the line.
Yeah,
in kind of peak condition for that tournament. And it's gonna be interesting. It's like I can't think of a player who's gonna beat Novak, on his court in Australia. I just don't, especially after everything. He's gonna be so motivated. So I'm just not sure who's gonna beat him. And at the same time, I'm like, I don't really realistically know if Rafa is fit and healthy and playing well, who's going to beat him in Paris. I mean,
yeah. No, I think that's an interesting question. Those were two huge serves by Rublev, though. So impressive. At 15:30 to come up with that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. We finally have another rally, which is always good to see. This is shaping up very nicely. Oh, and he's dumped it in the net.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think quite a few of those rallies against Medvedev, Medvedev ended up pushing a backhand long or dumping a shot in the net, and he's not going to get that against Novak really at all. Yeah, he's up at 10 unforced errors. Djokovic had just 4 unforced errors so far.
Must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice to not hit.
Play a tennis match, 4 unforced errors.
Out of in the 10th game of the match. I'd probably be on 10 within the first 2 games.
I was just gonna say it's an accomplishment if I get through a game without 4 unforced errors.
Oh no.
Here we go.
Yeah, you called it. You did call this as a game. That's the thing, like Rublev, it's not like that reaction is not warranted. Like, you have kept up with Djokovic really well so far, and you've hit a bad shot and you're facing break point, set point. Like,
oh, I don't want to ruin it for you, but
okay,
wait till you see that.
It's gonna. I know. I have a feeling I know what's gonna happen. Yeah. Oh, I just knew it was gonna be a return winner. Insane. Unbelievable. Oh, Rublev smacked the ball away, and Djokovic is just smirking. Like, yeah, I've got you.
Yeah.
First set, Novak.
Yep. Owen's looking for a bit of a recap here. The first 9 games. Yeah, I mean, those first 6-7 games were just as you said, watching Karlovic and Isner pretty much, and just servers going back and forth. But yeah, we definitely got a few rallies there before the end, and obviously once you get into the rallies, you've entered Novak's den.
Yeah, Rublev did really well on a couple of the the kind of +9 shot rallies where he hit a good backhand winner or a good forehand winner, but the rest of them, Novak was just forcing an error, or Rublev was just being himself, which Djokovic makes you do. And your unforced error count's always going to be high or skewed against Novak because he makes you play
exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I think Rublev did pretty well. He just lost his head a bit there. He hit a couple of unforced errors towards the end of that game, and he needs to just relax.
Yeah,
he went break point down, set point down in that game. Served right into Novak's backhand. After already getting really angry, and then launches smacks a ball into the ground afterwards. It's just like,
and that's the thing with Novak too, right? It comes at you in waves. What was it? 3 service games ago where Rublev's up 40 love, all of a sudden it's deuce. Then you've got the next game again where Rublev gets out of a jam a bit, and then finally Novak breaks him here.
Yeah, there's quite a funny contrast there. Djokovic just like fist pumping and just smirking, and then Rublev just destroying a ball. But I mean, not a bad first set from Rublev at all. You know, he served pretty well.
He did. I mean, I think the big thing is he's got to find a way to put a bit more pressure on Novak's serve.
He's not touching him at the minute at all.
Yeah.
Good to see Owen here. Always like to have his company.
Yeah. No, Owen is an awesome follow on Twitter.
He is. Yeah, and I think, Rublev just needs to not fall into the traps that Tsitsipas did the other day, and just, that you need to do something, and like you need to, if Djokovic misses the first serve, you need to go after it. I know that's easier said than done because he still places his second serve ridiculously well, but 100% first serve points won. That doesn't even surprise me. Like, that's just ridiculous.
That's what we've seen. That's exactly what we've seen. Oh man.
Yeah, they're replaying Juice in that game, and Rublev just went wild with that backhand, and his serve literally could not. I mean, if you were to ask Djokovic what is your favorite serve to face, he'd probably say ad court, kind of pacey, flat, right into my backhand, and that's exactly what Rublev gave him there.
Yeah.
And he just crushed it down the line. But Rublev had a ridiculous amount of chances to win that first set against Medvedev the other day, and didn't. And I was like, oh dear, I don't know how he's going to recover. And he recovered amazingly. So, maybe he'll recover really well here. But yeah, I know there's one man I would not want to be serving at, against at 4-5 in a set, and that's Djokovic. I'm like, I know I'm going to hit my best serve of all time, and he's just going to hit a winner off it.
It's funny because Novak is the guy you wouldn't want to be serving at 4-5. Novak is also you almost would be the most nervous when you have a match point. So
yeah,
it's both with him.
Exactly. Yeah, he's just a menace. And he's still, and like that's the best thing about breaking to win a set as well, is that you serve first at the start of the second one.
Yeah.
What Rublev needs to be wary of here is not capitulating mentally, because he's not going to be thinking, "Oh, I should be winning this match," because he hasn't got near Djokovic on serve. What a shit. Was that in?
No.
Oh, okay, just missed it. That would have been ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it looked ridiculous live.
But that's better from Rublev, and that's his best strength, isn't it? Is rushing his opponents.
Yeah, no, that's what he's got to do, and that's probably what he's told himself. He's just got to find a way to do more of that whenever he can actually get a return back.
Yeah, that is the first step, and it doesn't matter how you do it. Just get that serve back in play. And then as soon as you get a mid-court ball, just absolutely tee off. That's kind of the only thing you can do right now.
This is a lot better.
There we go. That's a perfect return point from Rublev. Like, really aggressive, good return. Good backhand and a good forehand, hitting around the court. And I just know that I know you're ahead, but I just have a feeling Djokovic is going to follow this up with an unreturnable first serve. just a feeling. Oh no, Djokovic. Okay, Rublev got it back.
Yeah, I'm gonna avoid any spoilers.
And that's a dreadful backhand. Gosh. But it's
the main thing
pressure.
is he's getting into more of these points now.
Yes, exactly. He's now kind of finding a block return finally. But it's, and then comes the rest of the point.
Of course, we say that and there's an ace.
Rublev nearly throwing his racket after getting aced and then thinking, well, I can't really do that. That's one of the things I always find quite funny in tennis is when opponents get really, really angry when they've just been they'll play someone like Thiem or Wawrinka or Del Potro who's just absolutely blasted them in a rally.
Yeah.
And it'll be and a Murray, for example, will just get absolutely fuming.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Rublev. He's lost the plot a bit there. He had a whole section of the court on the right to go for, and he just smacked it wide. But what Murray will sometimes do is that he'll get completely smacked past in a rally, and then he'll just get really angry. I'm like, Muzz, what do you expect to do here? You can't expect to win every rally against these guys. And I saw it with Rublev against Thiem in I think it was Astana. Gijon or whatever. I can't remember what tournament it was, but it was one of the indoor hard courts, and Rublev won 6-4, 6-4, and Thiem would win a point playing super aggressive, and Rublev would just absolutely lose his mind. I'm just like, bro, it's okay. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, you're playing at the absolute highest level. Other guys are gonna win points.
It's insane. Murray's the worst for it though. Gosh.
Yeah.
That's a good serve. Good response. Yeah, one of the guys from Popcorns just said Djokovic is so evil. Rublev is going ballistic with every shot he misses, and he's just trying to contain his laughter, which is true as well. But I like Novak when he's kind of I don't like him when he's not. I don't dislike him when he's but when he's being really peaceful and zen and stuff. I don't like that. I like him when he's got a lot of character to him, and
when he embraces the full villain.
Yeah, either the full villain or he
I think that's why that was, I think, one of the really enjoyable aspects of the Federer Djokovic matchup over the years, right? Because you knew what the narrative was coming in. You knew how the crowd was going to be during the match, and Djokovic just thrived in all of it. Yeah,
it was amazing because Federer. I think a lot of Novak fans like to think that Nadal has always had this immense crowd support, but Nadal's grown the love of the crowd over time, but Federer was always the man for any crowd whenever they played.
Right.
You chuck Nadal or Djokovic on at Wimbledon. I guess not so much Nadal anymore because he's not really had a massive, he did well at Wimbledon and shit, but he's not had a title winning run for a long time. And so the crowd cheer for him a bit more, but for a long time, they always, I reckon until 2019, every time Nadal played at Wimbledon, they either cheered for Federer when Federer played against Nadal, or they always cheered the underdog against Nadal. Nadal never really had a full crowd support at Wimbledon. There's only two people who get full crowd support on the men's side at Wimbledon. That's Murray and Federer.
Right.
That's a great return point.
What do you make of this question we've got in the comments from Ghibli? Does Rublev need to have moments when he doesn't just bash it, or would he lose the main advantage of his game if he wasn't all out aggression?
It's a good question. I think he does need more variety in his game, really. Some bullets criticize folk for getting angry, even if evidence says the game is affected by it. I'd like to see too.
I would say in the moment, like this match right now, because he doesn't have that variety, I think it's just a question of whether or not he's going to be able to execute that level of aggression.
Yeah.
Because we know he doesn't have the variety, but obviously, big picture, he's got to add the variety.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting with Rublev as well because I watch him and the way he plays and his style, I don't really know what variety he could add.
Mm-hmm.
Work on a good slice, sure, that's very doable, but he's never gonna like have the defensive capabilities that Medvedev and Zverev have, for example. I could see him, working on his counter punching, but his game is kind of all out attack, and that's very hard to change. And look, he's gotten a lot of titles already at quite a pretty young age.
Mm-hmm.
He's top eight in the world. I can pretty much guarantee he'll very consistently beat most players ranked below him for the rest of his career, probably. It's just if he wants to beat Djokovic, if he wants to beat Medvedev consistently, or because I know he's won the last two on hard court, but you've got to think that Medvedev's going to snatch quite a few back in the coming years. Zverev's a really bad matchup for him. He's got to find a way to, the return is very important. He needs to work on his return. And there are matches where he just goes God mode on return and just blasts return winners left and right off his forehand, which is always really fun to see. But yeah, I just don't. There are certain things he can add. Here we go, another break point. Serves to the forehand. That's a good way to start. Great forehand from Rublev. That's good. That's what he needs to do. And Djokovic is more likely to hit a return winner off. Hey, Jethro Diegoshfulsman. What's up, buddy? Hey, bro. How are you? I told him on Twitter last night, commiserations for when Djokovic loses the final to Diego in the Australian Open, which I've also said to another friend from Popcorn Tennis. So I need to. I've already predicted it to come true. So, and that's a poor miss from Rublev again. And I just think it just looks like Djokovic is just going to be so easy and comfortable on serve, and he's going to make every Rublev serve.
That's a bit of a troll. Novak's staying all serene, but he's got his daughter clapping and right in Rublev's face.
Not what he needs. Oh, and he's missed the first serve as well. And he's gone. Oh, and he's thrown his racket as well. I mean, it was coming. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised at all. Yeah. Looks like 6-4, 6-4 was a good guess from me.
Yeah, but that second set might get even worse.
Yeah, I'm not. I won't even be surprised if this is more like 6-2, 6-1 or something.
Yeah. It's such a big thing with playing Novak. Your competitive stamina and your ability to just be a bit of a goldfish and forget about what's happened is huge.
You need insane mental strength to beat him. Especially over the course of 5 sets as well. Like, I was trying to think who's beaten him at slams. In the last few years, obviously Rafa this year.
Yep. Medvedev, I mean, I felt like that calendar slam just completely,
got to
weighed him down. Like,
yeah,
the dude we saw in that final was just, it was like watching a ghost.
Yeah, and I didn't think he played necessarily awfully, but I mean Medvedev was amazing. Like he was peaking, and Djokovic was just I think shell shocked.
Yeah, it was definitely a combination. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he was shell shocked and just like the occasion. And to be fair, like I don't think Djokovic played well at all in his semi-final against Zverev. You know.
Yeah, you've got to finish that if you're Rublev. You got the whole cross court.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think Novak played well against Zverev at all. I thought Zverev getting to 5 sets was pretty fortunate. Because Novak he missed a lot in that match, and then that match getting extended for 5 sets, loads of really long rallies, another ridiculously easy hold for Djokovic. Yeah, I think that tired him out as well for the final. We see Medvedev, comfortably beat Auger-Aliassime in the semis. That's just gonna go to bed next week. Yeah, it's looking like it's gonna be over pretty quickly.
Thanks for joining us, Ankit.
Yes, always good to have you on. So yeah, Medvedev last year, and then Djokovic won Wimbledon, won the French, and the Australian Open. 2020 defaulted.
Yep.
At the US, Wimbledon didn't happen. Lost to Nadal. Won the Australian Open. 2019. Lost.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. If you were to
look barely lost at slam level, like.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. If you were
2019, lost to Thiem, obviously. Beat Federer in that crazy final. So yeah, he's only lost to what? And did he lose to Wawrinka in 2019 US Open, or retire in the match?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that was the quarterfinal, right?
Yeah. So and then he won the Australian Open.
The round of 16, I think.
Yeah. So what? Since
we're I've pulled it up here. So we've got 2022, obviously misses Australia and the US, wins Wimbledon, loses to Rafa in the quarters. 2021, he wins the first 3, loses the final to Medvedev. 2020, wins the Australian, loses in the final of the French to Rafa. And then there's the round of 16 loss, where he defaults to Pablo Carreño Busta.
Yeah.
2019, wins the Australian, loses the semis. I believe that was to Dominic Thiem.
It was indeed.
And then he wins Wimbledon, and then he loses in the round of 16 to Wawrinka.
Yeah, he retired in the 3rd set, I think.
Yeah. 2018, he wins Wimbledon, he wins the US. So that was basically the comeback, right? Where
yes,
we saw him get to the quarters of the French and start to look like himself. And then we had that incredible semifinal against Rafa at Wimbledon.
Oh yeah, that was an amazing match.
Yeah.
So I mean, since 2019, we've got a default and retirement, but then his actual losses, I guess you kind of count Wawrinka. Wawrinka kind of Thiem, Medvedev, and Nadal, and that's it.
Yep.
Madness. And that kind of makes sense because Medvedev and Thiem and Rafa have been by far the 3 best tennis players on the planet in that period of time. Obviously, Thiem's had his injury in the last year, and he was struggling mentally and physically after winning the US. But I mean, those 3 players have been by far the best players in the world. So there hasn't even been a freak loss for a while for Djokovic at a slam since maybe Cecchinato at the French Open 2018, I guess.
Right. So let me tally this up here. We're looking at 43, 59, 86. So from 2018 to now, he is at 97 wins and 8 losses.
God.
If we were to just look at 2021 and 22, he's 38-2.
That's insane. I know, obviously, that's just Grand Slam level, but that's just still ridiculous.
Yeah. So next year, he's
what do
still,
you guys think about
he's still the man to beat.
What do you guys think about Thiem in 2023?
Ooh, that's a good question.
He, based on ranking, I think he might have to play one tournament or something in Australia, maybe, to secure the spot in the Australian Open without having to play qualifying. I can see him winning a couple of matches, maybe in Australia. It will very much depend on his draw. If he gets the top, like a high seed, it will be tough. I think we'll see Thiem back to his best around the French Open. It's a good question, actually. I have a bold prediction for the 2023 Dominic Thiem. I think he's gonna make the semi-finals at Wimbledon. That's my pick.
Oh wow.
Yeah, for me, his game these days actually suits faster courts better. I think he's still an amazing clay court player, but yeah, he won Stuttgart in 2016. He beat Federer on the way. He's had some really good performances on grass, and he's beaten Berrettini on grass in like an exhibition in straight sets. I think, yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. It will depend on how well he does in the lead up and where his seeding is and all that. But yeah, that's my bold prediction.
Yeah, it will be nice to see him back. I think you're right. If he can be peaking and back to his best level, round about the French Open. So I guess here's another question. Do you think he enters the French Open as a legitimate contender?
I think a lot of that will depend on the kind of the clay court tournaments building up, the Masters. Yeah, and I think it's a lot of what if, like kind of ifs at the moment, because if he enters the Australian Open as a main draw player and gets a non-seeded player first round, and then gets like a low seed in the next round, and he could get some good wins together, and then I don't think he's not defending any points, from any of the slams. He only played 2 last year and didn't win a match at either of them. So the only way is up, really, and he's already around the top 100. And so then he can start, and then if he gets some wins at the Australian Open, then he can enter Indian well. He'll probably play the golden swing. Maybe he could definitely win a tournament at the Golden Swing. One of the clay 250s, or maybe even Rio or whatever. And then there's Indian Wells, and there's Miami, and then we'll have the full-on clay season. So there's so many points that he can get. So I mean, if he starts the season well and he gets a lot of wins, he could easily enter the French Open, as a kind of top 30 seed.
We're getting peak Rublev at the moment, as far as his emotions are concerned.
He spends so much emotional energy on getting angry. Just doesn't help him. It must feel nice when you're this dominant against a top player. Yeah. I mean, I'm a really big supporter of Alcaraz. I think he's great. He's an unbelievable talent, but to me, I don't think there's anyone better in the world than Djokovic, to be honest.
Yeah. I think the way things have gone this year really tees up 2023 nicely.
Yeah.
Like, you've got Alcaraz obviously at the top, and the confidence of winning the US Open. You've got these young guys coming along. You've got, Medvedev wondering if, he can get back to his very best. And then you've got sort of the mainstay, Novak. Is he just going to do what he's done the last few years at slams? Or is this, actually, going to be a passing of the torch year?
Yeah, it's interesting. And obviously, I mean, I said earlier in the year, I think it was when Rune beat Tsitsipas at the French, and I was like, I give Rune a year, and I reckon it's going to be a similar rise to Alcaraz. I'm not saying I didn't say he was going to be like world number one, although Alcaraz wasn't even world number one at the time. And then he just did it in a few weeks. Christ. Yeah, so, you've got all these young guys coming through, and then you've got two really, for me, really exciting, big hitting lefties with Jack Draper and Dominic Stricker. Yep. I think both of them are going to be in the mix for not necessarily Masters and Slams next year, but I think they'll be making big runs at big tournaments next year for sure, the pair of them. A big hitting lefty who doesn't really miss, which they both are, is kind of what people want Shapovalov to be, and they can certainly do that, and we see the damage that can cause. So yeah, there's a lot of good players now. The competition's just stepping up again, and that's worrying for players who have been on the tour for a while.
Oh my goodness!
You're high. You're still ahead of me. There's another.
I'll wait for you to get there.
That's insane. And George matters that Rublev was actually close, really close to that ball.
Yeah,
and it still flew past him.
Yeah, on the run, just.
And surely at some unknown point, age will catch up with Novak physically or mentally, but I guess we'll predict he will win until he doesn't. Yeah. And I think that's something. I think that's kind of what we've had to be like for Rafa as well. And everyone's saying, "Oh, I think he's finally finished." I just don't know with Rafa. There's so many unknowns, but
yeah, I don't read too much into this. This end of the year streak where he's lost 4 straight now. I don't think there's much that you can really take from it. I think, I think he'll come back next year ready to go, and
definitely.
I
think there's a lot for people to expect him to do well in Paris and the World Tour Finals. Is two worst tournaments really, off the back of all these injuries he's had, and coming in with no real confidence. 2 more break points for Djokovic here. It might end up being a 6. Wow, what a return!
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a ridiculous return. Like, gosh. Yeah, whereas Djokovic, he's got a really good chance at winning this tournament. And then he's going to have his off season, and then he's going to play Australia. And so, I mean, Djokovic is entering 2023, even if he doesn't win this tournament, he's entering 2023 as the form player in the world, really, I think. I mean, how many times have we said that? 11 years in a row, barring like 2017 and 2018, maybe. But,
yeah.
And it looks like it's going to be a 6-1 result here. He's done his best, Rublev. I don't actually think he's played that badly. He hasn't played as well as he did against Medvedev, but I mean, Djokovic has just absolutely nullified him, and he's not.
I think that second game sort of ate at his soul a bit. I think the first game, Rublev, I thought came out the right way. He was getting into that Djokovic serve a bit, and that was a close game. But then to get broken right away, I think that kind of took the sting out of it.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he'd made that backhand. Oh, he did. He's not even celebrating, which I don't blame him. Great shot there. This is so depressingly predictable. Andrey hasn't shown himself in a good light, even though Djokovic is still clearly meant. Yeah. It's
I think the second set hasn't been ideal, but I thought that first set he did as well as he possibly could to keep up with the serve.
Yeah, definitely. Like he was like, it was just a couple of bad decisions he made that cost him that game. He could have taken that to a tie break, but against Djokovic, something's always going to give. And got too much points for Djokovic now. And like, if you're gonna play flat and hard against Djokovic, you need to be like Del Potro kind of levels of aggression and consistency. Then that's why teams had so much success against Djokovic, because he's got the power and the spin, and he can do it off both wings. And yeah, clinical finish, 4-round winner.
Yeah,
6-4, 6-1 Novak. I mean, that was pretty routine in the end.
Yeah, extremely.
I don't think it looked for one moment in that match like Rublev really had a chance, to be honest.
Yeah. And on that note, are you not disappointed that with the top of the top we get matches like this? Am I expecting too much? Am I drawing too much from this bad matchup game?
Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm disappointed. Again, just weighing up the stuff that I had mentioned pre-match, where Rublev gets this huge win against Medvedev. There was bound to be a bit of an emotional let-up, a bit of, knowing that you've still got one more match against Tsitsipas to get it done. And then when Djokovic comes out, serving like he does, and you're hanging in there, you play a good first set, you lose it at the end, and he goes, to the back, talks to himself, says, hey, I'm going to get into this Novak serve. And he pushes that first game and thinks, okay, we're on to something. Let's build off of this. And then it gets broken. And that's how quickly it can turn with Novak, right? It's like playing him. It's a bit like quicksand. You think you're okay for a second, and then before you know it, you're neck deep in it.
Yeah, exactly. The quicksand is actually a perfect analogy, because it all happens so fast once he gets his teeth in. It's and it's scary. And I guess playing him over 5 sets can help you kind of regain some momentum, but I think certain opponents just don't have a chance against a sharp Djokovic on a hard court. If you ask me how Rublev would win this match, I hope Djokovic goes off the boil. Yeah. Like this thing, like Djokovic, there's a lot of matchups for Djokovic where he would have to play really badly to lose. Owen has this crazy idea in his mind, though, that Djokovic would have to play terribly against Schwartzman for Schwartzman to beat him. And he's absolutely full of garbage, I don't know where he gets his ideas from, to be honest. But he's right. There are, like, if you want to beat Djokovic, you kind of have to hope that your game can match up well against him. Like, we've seen Medvedev matches up really well against Djokovic. Tsitsipas, I thought, did brilliantly in Paris, and I thought, are we seeing Tsitsipas finally finding a level that he can beat Djokovic with? Because he hasn't won since 2019 Shanghai. That's like 10. If I'm
not mistaken, Tsitsipas had won 2 out of the first 3, and then Novak, I think, has won the last 9.
Yeah, I think it's 10 now.
Yeah,
as of the other day. And I don't know what Tsitsipas can do in that matchup. I mean, we haven't seen them play on grass, but like Tsitsipas is probably going to be even worse on grass. And like he claims he really likes the grass, and obviously he won Mallorca this year. And skill set wise, he had all the tools to beat Kyrgios at Wimbledon this year, but he got dragged into the stupid, juvenile, childish behavior that Kyrgios was, exuberating, and he dragged himself down with Kyrgios and behaved badly himself and lost the match mentally. So it's
just looking at the match stats, that's probably, if I'm Rublev, that's probably the main thing I'm disappointed with, is the 13 forehand unforced errors, right?
Yeah, that's his best side, and he can't really afford to do that.
So, yeah.
So tonight's match, Medvedev-Tsitsipas. What do we expect to happen from that?
So I think I would have to roll with Medvedev in this one. I know his level's been a bit tapered off since what we saw at the start of the year, but I do think that he'll come away with this match. I think Tsitsipas has had a really good year, but I just think Medvedev's the better player on this surface. The pace of it. We talked about being a bit of a serve bot on this surface, and I think he'll be able to do that, and then maybe come away with a couple of the key moments.
Yeah, I think a lot hinges on Medvedev's serve because that's what ultimately let him down against Tsitsipas in Cincinnati. But I think if Medvedev has a good serving day, I think he should win in 2 or 3. It should be competitive, I think. But Medvedev will be the favorite for that. But it's going to be fun. I hope there's a bit of tension because it's enjoyable with those two.
Oh, definitely.
I think that's why people love the match. That's why no one cares about the tennis when it comes to their rivalry. People just think about that Indian Wells incident.
But yeah, this was a fun one.
Interesting comment. Djokovic would have beaten Nadal and Roland Garros if he didn't have the whole vaccine fiasco dragging him for the first half of the year. Not sure I agree with that. I think you can always use that as a cop-out, but I think tactically Djokovic got that match wrong. The only times he looked like he was going to win was when he was redlining, and he cannot sustain that for the entire match. And Nadal just played a really, really good match, basically.
Yeah, I thought Rafa outplayed him on the day.
I think it was all tactics, really, and Nadal got it spot on.
Yeah. To that comment, the only thing I would say is, that was probably the first time in a while that we've seen Novak look a bit undercooked. And that's where maybe, just getting more matches under the belt would have been nice. But at the end of the day, that's a choice he made, and he's got to live with everything that comes with it, which he's acknowledged and he's accepted as well.
Exactly. He's not complained. And we did see evidence of that having an effect on him, Monte Carlo against Davidovich Fokina and Belgrade in that final, so against Rublev. We saw evidence of that, but I think by the time the French Open came, he was pretty warmed up and pretty ready. I mean, he was. Yeah. I watched most of the tournament, and I saw Schwartzman obliterate Dimitrov, and I was like, God, Schwartzman's playing well. And then Djokovic did exactly the same to Schwartzman. He was literally unplayable that day.
Yeah.
Nadal just is the best clay court player of all time.
And Rafa, I remember going into that match, I was thinking, in terms of feeling a bit leggy. Rafa was the one who was coming off that really tough 5-setter against Felix, and so you're thinking, maybe that gives Novak a bit of something. So physically, I don't think there was enough there to think that that match completely turns if Novak had a few more matches under his belt.
For sure. I think John wants us to wrap things up here.
All right.
Thank you all for listening. We've had a very fun time covering this incredibly short match.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the tournament. Yeah, mate, you did great. We should get you on some more of these. That was really fun. Awesome. Cool. Thanks for listening, everyone. Cheers.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.